It's the morning star drive 117.8. You soaring up with sky, now's the time, don't delay. I'm sitting in my ride and it's time to fly. So let's realign, just listen and fill your mind.
I'm burning with desire and the passion. Nobody can stop me when I'm like this. I got my head in the zone, you know. I'm on the morning star drive, you know.
Hey guys, how's it going? It is Thursday, October 22nd, and this is the Morning Star Drive on 117.8. We're on YouTube, so make sure to subscribe and follow us on SoundCloud, and make sure to support us on Patreon and now PayPal. So today we'll get some coronavirus updates. The US government takes on Google, Twitter, and Facebook, and answering some questions from listeners. So how are you guys doing today? It is Thursday, and it's almost the ending of the week. Hope you really enjoyed the service last night. So let's get this day started together on the Morning Star Drive. Just want to remind everyone to keep liking and commenting, and I want to hear from you guys and see how you're doing. Also, for those of you that know, tonight is Bubble Talk at 8 p.m. Malaysia time. It'll be streaming live on YouTube and Facebook, so go ahead and check that out. There will be some free bubble tea given out today too. Also, this Sunday we'll be meeting Fred Fong from America. He is a blessed family. He's been in this history for longer than me. I'm 22 years. He's much longer than me. And he came in the first half of history. I think it came 1995 or something crazy. He's been a warrior for a long time now, and we're going to check out his stories with the Lord and how he came into this history. So everyone, just make sure to catch next week's Sunday edition from one of our old school brothers. So let's get into the featured artist of the day. Today's featured artist is PGY from Paper Music Association in Korea, and we're going to hear the song Dr. Rain. Also, from Japan, we have The Sky. Yes, one of the best band names I've ever heard. The Sky. It's not just Sky, it is The Sky, right? And this is a new band that we discovered last week, and this song is going to be Spring Emotion. And third, last but not least, it will be Sung Beats in Canada, and Dr. Zinni and Nelly will be singing the song Your Word is Life. So everyone, make sure to support those member artists from around the world, listen to their music, support them if they have albums, but most importantly, let's make sure that we pray that their music reaches around the world so they can be those that can testify for the Lord.
My name, I'm a 95 model, a defective robot. Oh, it's today, I have an appointment. I'm gonna meet my last moment. You're lucky to see me before I die. Oh, you're not sorry for that. I'm on my way to Dr. Rain. She's gonna bring me some sleeping pills. So good to see you, Mr. Cloud. Think I'm getting worse. Where is the shit? Oh, yeah. Need to wait a bit. Okay then. Oh, I sit here. Alright. Looks you are getting darker, mister. Hey, are you okay?
の風に触ったみたいだ。ああ僕の声が君と重なる。ああ心の中見せてください。新しい景色、新しい時も今までの記憶消えて生まれ変わるみたいに君の秋の雨ください。切ないほどに離れないまま言葉じゃなくていい。ただずっとずっとそばでの声が届くようにと枯れた涙で祈るばかりだ。別々の世界に分かれていても未だに信じているよ。春の雨に打たれて君の秋の一つ寂しい気持ちこらえながら言葉でだけでいい。ただ忘れていないと澄んだ空突き刺している水面に映るあなたがいる世界に君の秋の雨ください。切ないほどに離れないまま言葉じゃなくていい。ただずっとずっとそばで
And that was Sung Beats in Canada. That song was Your Word is Life from Dr. Zany and Nelly. Before that was The Sky from Japan with the song Spring Emotion. And of course, the featured artist of the day is PGY from the Paper Music Associates in Korea. And that song was Dr. Rain. So that means it's going to bring us in a time to go over the coronavirus updates for today. And when we look at it, we hit, we're constantly hitting new milestones all the time. We're now currently at 41 million cases in the world with 1.1 million deaths. Good news is mortality rate keeps going down. It's down to 2.75%. US, 8.5 million cases, 226,000 deaths at 2.65%. India, 7.6 million cases, 115,000 deaths at 1.52%. Brazil comes back into the top six with 5.2 million cases, 154,000 deaths at 2.94%. Argentina hits a huge milestone, and now they officially have 1 million cases, 27,000 deaths at 2.66%. France, 930,000 cases, 33,000 deaths. But great news about France is their mortality rate just keeps it's dropping super fast. It's down to 3.64%. And the UK dropping just a little bit, 762,000 cases, 43,000 deaths at 5.77%. Sweden, it's been a while, but they have dropped their mortality rate down to 5.57%, and Belgium is down to 4.37% mortality rate. Let's take a look at the daily infection rates for the top six countries. It is the U.S. with 61,000 cases. They're on top for the second day straight, 61,000 cases in a day at a 1% growth. India in second, just right behind them with 54,000 cases in 1%. And then Brazil comes back in third with 23,000 cases. Now, the UK is not too funny. Like UK and France is 21,000 and 20,000, right? So they're right behind it in fourth and fifth. And last but not least, Argentina comes back into the mix with 16,000 cases in a day at a 2% growth. Looking at, let's take a look at Southeast Asia. Southeast Asia, of course, Indonesia, with probably the largest population by far, has 3,600 cases in a day. Philippines has 1,600 cases, which is a good sign because now they're in the 1,000s because they've been in the 2,000s for over a week. Well, I think more than a week. And of course, Malaysia staying in the same range, around 862 cases in a day. So that is the coronavirus updates for today, which is Thursday. Okay, so this brings us into a very interesting subject for the current news. We have basically the U.S. elections for the president coming up in 2 weeks. I think it's exactly 2 weeks right now. So it's very, very interesting. Lot of, this happens every time there's a presidential election. There's going to be, the closer and closer we get to election, the more and more things come out about the other person or whatever it is. So in the current news, the U.S. government has like a bunch of lawsuits coming out and investigations. And of course, everything really, it basically does have to do with the elections or what's leading up to the elections also. So the U.S. government, the first one is that U.S. government just recently announced 2 days ago that there's going to be an antitrust lawsuit against Google, right? Antitrust is like they have a monopoly, they're controlling the competition, and basically they're making it unfair for fair competition to come in, right? So this is illegal in America because what happens is if you have a monopoly, what can happen if you control everything and you have all the power, then people have less choices. And also, if someone has a monopoly, they have no incentive to make good quality things because they have all the power. So it's possible there's just poor quality. Also, since someone controls everything, the advertisement prices, especially when it comes to Google and search advertisement, the prices get higher. And basically, it hurts advertisers, consumers, small businesses. So this is why this is one of those laws that are in America. So the antitrust lawsuit is stating that Google is abusing their dominance in online search and online advertising, like search advertising. So this entire case has been over a year in the making, and they said that the Attorney General of America, William Barr, has been the one leading it. So what are the things they're violating with the antitrust laws? In the lawsuit, it states Google is no longer competing on its own merits, but on monopoly power and their financial power. Right? I believe they make $100 billion just on search advertisements, which is pretty crazy, right? $100 billion just on that. And also, they are locking up key pathways to search or like locking up the key pathways for search engines or for other competition to come in, especially when it comes to mobile phones, browsers, and next generation devices. An example on that one would be like Google has an agreement with Apple, and they will allow Apple to put Google on all their phones for free. And the only thing that they ask is that they will be exclusively on it. Right? Exclusively. So there's another thing right there. So at the moment, the government is saying that no one can feasibly challenge Google in dominance in search and search advertising. Okay, so this is what a monopoly, it's basically what a monopoly is, right? So this has been a result of broad investigations in the business practices of Google. Right now, you'll know that 90% of all searches are done on Google, and Google like I said, it's exclusively used on certain products like Apple, which is anti-competitive. And that's why the monopoly is being questioned right now. Their financial power is just too big compared to all other places also. And what else did they say? They say that what happened in the past, like where everything is leading from, because the tech industry is fairly new, right, with internet and everything else. So the government doesn't really know how, we were dealing with the first time. And this is why in the past there were kind of similar problems that were coming up, but that couldn't be addressed because we didn't know enough about the industry, right? So regulators, the government trying to make their first efforts to rein in the power for big tech, and Microsoft was the first. So Microsoft was actually sued for like the same thing, antitrust or monopolizing the market, and they sued again for not complying with it. And then because of that antitrust lawsuit, Google was able to step in 2008. Google begins to step in, they become very powerful, and then Google decides to do a partnership with Yahoo, but it was basically, regulators said it would give Google too much power in search ads, so they stopped that acquisition from happening. And then Google wasn't just worrying about regulators in America, but back in 2008 and on, they were worried about the European Union. Their regulators were they were targeting Google also. In 2013, Google was almost sued by the government, but they didn't have enough evidence. But they told them that they were going to be watched. And then on top of that, in 2015, it seemed like good news because they reached an agreement with the EU. But in 2018, Google was fined $2.42 billion, violating the EU law. And then 2019, again, it was $5 billion for abusing dominance of Android user platforms. So you see, this problem has been constantly going on. And recently in 2020, of course, in the summertime, they were all the big execs for big tech were testifying over the summer. And this antitrust lawsuit has been being prepared over an entire year. And what even happened is there are 50 attorney generals from different states all over America that were launching the investigation together. So that's why everything is leading to this point, and now finally the lawsuits come out. The second thing the U.S. government is doing is tomorrow, I believe, Twitter and Facebook, their CEOs will be facing the government tomorrow for censorship. Okay, so what recently just happened was something that's not supposed to happen because in the Constitution there's the freedom of the press. But what happened was there was a story about Hunter Biden, which is Joe Biden's son, and someone was able to get their hands on one of his hard drives. Well, it wasn't they were getting it. Hunter Biden brought in his computer to a store to fix it because there was water damage. And basically, he didn't pay for it, and he didn't come to retrieve it. And I believe in the government law, the law in that area, I think it was Delaware, I believe it was like something like 90 days or was it 180 days, something like that along that line. Like after 3 months or 6 months, if no one claims or pays for it, then it belongs solely to the person, like to that company. So Hunter Biden never came back for it. So now legally, it is something that is belongs to the owner of that computer repair shop. So what happens is Giuliani, which is a lawyer of Trump, gets a hold of it. The FBI also gets a hold of it. And now, especially perfect timing, right when the elections are coming out, all this stuff is coming out. And the bigger thing is it's coming out and it's all against, it's bigger. It's not so much about Hunter Biden. There's a lot of incriminating evidence against Joe Biden. Now, When the news came out, it did not come out from just like a regular person off Twitter or Facebook. It came out from the New York Post, which is a legit press agency. Remember, there's freedom of press is in America. That is a guarantee, right? So what happens is New York Post sets it out, and then automatically Twitter and Facebook begin to block it, right? And this is like freedom of press, okay? And it wasn't just that. Anyone who shared this story from the New York Post, right? One of the largest circulated news agencies in America. Anyone who shared it, any URL was blocked, accounts were blocked, even if you just shared like what the New York Post was reporting about. So this becomes a big issue because, the reasons they gave is, we don't know if it's true, or maybe it's the Russians interfering. And of course, Adam Schiff, he's in the government and he's in charge of intelligence. He says, no, it's Russian intelligence, that's interfering. And then the DNI, which is the person in charge of national intelligence, this is the actual person in charge, comes out on TV and says it has nothing to do with the Russians. There is no evidence whatsoever. So like Twitter and Facebook are saying that, these are the possibilities, this is fake, or this is retrieved in an illegal way, and it wasn't. None of these were done in this way, and it was done by the press itself. So this is why now the government is cracking down, right? Now you got to think about it. Even the press itself are being suppressed from showing their stories. And one thing this is bringing up, which is also a big thing, something really big against big tech, is Section 230. And Section 230, they're going to probably reform this because of all this stuff that's happening. It basically gives immunity for tech companies that provide platforms like Twitter, YouTube, Facebook and such. Because, they're not the ones, they're just giving the platform and everyone's putting on what they want. So it makes them immune. Like you can't sue them for it because they're just giving the platform. They're not a publisher. Because a publisher is the one that gets to choose who gets to go on and who doesn't, right? So that makes sense. So as long as they don't pick and choose what is allowed and what is not allowed on this platform, they're not going to be considered a publisher and they cannot be sued for it. And what is happening right now is they're going to reform Section 230 because what it looks like at the moment is this Section 230 is giving absolute immunity no matter what. When you see like Twitter and Facebook right now, they are deeming themselves as a publisher because even what they say is, this was hacked, so we can't show it because it's dangerous. But on the flip side is there are many other times where, for instance, Trump's taxes were shown, right? However, it is a felony to go, to hack and find people's taxes or to even give information about taxes is a felony in America. But that thing just went through without any problem. So there is like a double standard that's going on right now. And at the moment, the way that the judges were, they were interpreting Section 230. It gave them absolute immunity. But because of many different censorships in the press, especially the one that just came out, and the reason why it's so big, because it was a real press agency that was blocked. And this is... there were, among other things that were happening too, but this is a really, really big one against the Constitution, and that's why this is going to be something that, that's why they're meeting tomorrow, right? Tomorrow for big tech and censorship, and Section 230, I believe, will most likely get reformed more than anything else, because it is a really, really big deal. So yeah, that's what's going on right now, and this, of course, is happening when, like right before the election, and it's always happens like this because they'll save these tidbits of information and they'll save them. And then they'll bring them out at the right time it's a very political thing. Like this should have came out a year ago or 2 years ago. And it's really weird because when they say it's Russian involvement, the thing that's really weird is this was in like a small town of it's like in Delaware, like in the boonies 2 years ago. Like, I don't know if the Russians were thinking that far ahead. Like 2 years later, we're going to go into a small town and we're going to give them a computer because we know that 2 years later that this is going to come out and Hunter Biden is going, and Joe Biden is going to be running for the presidency. Like, there's no way. It's really crazy, ridiculous what the ideas that people are bringing in. But right now, it is very big against big tech. So we're going to see like YouTube, we're going to see Facebook and Twitter and all these other companies go under large scrutiny. All right, so that brings us into a time of praise and worship, and we're going to listen to some amazing songs today. We're going to start off with something fun. Well, we're going to start off fun. It's going to be The Ideal World 2, and then Now We're Going Ahead, and then we're going to slow things down with I Believe. So let's spend this time together, giving praise, glory, and worship to the Holy Trinity.
Let's all run, Providence calls, history awaits. Let us rise up and shine heaven's truth. Now let us go to the place where our Lord reigns, there we will live, valuably as gold. We can fulfill the hope of the next 1,000 years. Hey, young people, wake up and realize. Hey, young people, hurry, come on. You are precious, young people of today. You're shining bright, young people of today. Young people come, young people come. It's the world ruled by the Lord, the new history will fulfill God's purpose for mankind. Now the words being proclaimed by our Lord here in this place. History is made here in Providence. The ideal world. Let's all run, Providence calls, history awaits. Let us rise up and shine heaven's truth. Now let us go to the place where our Lord reigns, there we will live, valuably as gold. We can fulfill the hope of the next 1,000 years. Hey, young people, wake up and realize. Hey, young people, hurry, come on. You are precious, young people of today. You're shining bright, young people of today. Young people come, young people come. It's the world ruled by the Lord, the new history will fulfill God's purpose for mankind. Now the words being proclaimed by our Lord here in this place. History is made here in Providence. The ideal world. Now the words being proclaimed by our Lord here in this place. History is made here in Providence. The ideal world. This is Providence. The ideal world.
Finally, pushing ahead, our new songs move ahead of the world. Those worldly songs are now fading behind us. They're behind, falling even more towards death. God gave the melodies, the Spirit gave the words and lyrics. So I became the singer, and I sing the new songs of life are the new songs in this new time of life. Heaven's new songs overflow, going ahead of the world. Since you have now become the Trinity's counterparts of love, sing the new songs, sing all the beautiful songs of these times. Sing the new songs, go on and sing along. Everyone sing along for all time, until the world ends. Let's sing these eternal songs, songs of eternal love, now and always. Let's sing the new songs. The songs of life are the new songs in this new time of life. Heaven's new songs overflow, going ahead of the world. Since you have now become the Trinity's counterparts of love, sing the new songs, sing all the beautiful songs of these times. Sing the new songs, go on and sing along. Everyone sing along for all time, until the world ends. Let's sing these eternal songs, songs of eternal love, now and always. Let's sing the new songs.
As I am walking on this road that leads to the city of gold, the Lord's sail is planted in my center, and on the Lord's wings I will rapture higher. I believe that the will has been fulfilled. I believe that my spirit rose with Him. I believe I'm living in the city of gold, and in this life I will always give thanks as I rise towards that plan. With the condition of the Lord, God's dream finally came true. As for me, I'll walk this path unchanging. I'll do what I must, and I'll never turn back. I believe that the will has been fulfilled. I time passes, all we'll see. I believe I'll stand firm, even though the wind may blow, never shaken. I'll fulfill heaven's will. God's history of love has won. God's history of love has won.
And that was I Believe. I hope you guys enjoyed that song. Old school, but really, really good song. I know a lot of people love that song too. Before that was Now We're Going Ahead, and also Ideal World 2. So what that brings us into now is a time of question and answer. And lots of question and answer coming here and there. And especially even with, now that I'm doing the Monday Bible studies, there's a lot, now we kind of started as question and answer section. It's really difficult though, because there's like 126 people and tons of people are asking questions and stuff like that too. But there's a lot of good questions from there, but also now we have questions. Well, I got questions from everywhere. I got questions from lecture training. I got questions from Bible studies. There's just questions all the time. So today's questions are a really good one because it comes from someone who is a new member. And they just recently passed within the last 2 years, and they're asking the question of what does it mean to manage, right? What does it mean to manage? And it's interesting because the question about managing, well, when you look at the word managing is usually a term used more so in like business and finances, or you manage your team, and it could very well be used in a situation like of any organization. And if you think about it carefully, technically speaking, Providence is an organization, right? It is. It's just like from a very, from a more general, a general way of looking at Providence, it is an organization. A church is an organization, right? It's an NGO, right? Of course, it's something to the people inside of it. We don't look at it as like, quote unquote, an organization, but it technically is. And of course, some people can get offended by the word manage because it feels too much like a business, but if we know the intent of the word is not really saying that people are products. Like it's not it's not really saying that. But yeah, manage is a very weird word to use because when it comes to people are more like taking care, like cares, or someone to take care of someone more than anything else. So what does it mean to manage? What does it mean to take care of someone? And of course, we're in Providence, which is, the new history of God, and it is a church. And it's a place where we receive the words of God, and we're in the new history. So first and foremost, obviously, it's a very spiritual place. So it does mean that a lot of the checking and the managing and taking care of people is done very spiritually. Like, for instance, praying for people and making sure that they understand the word. If there's misunderstandings, when it comes to, fixing ourselves, what does God want from us? And there's a lot of spiritual checking that's going on. And of course, as Sunsi puts it, it's the word is the best manager. So we want to make sure that people are listening to the words well, they're understanding the words, like everything is done in a proper way, okay? But ultimately, if you look at the biggest word and the way that Sunsi actually put it before, he says that another word for managing is love, right? Ultimately, it's just about love. And we need to kind of look at management as in terms of, when you look at the golden rule in the Bible in Matthew chapter 22, verse 38, it's like 38 and 39 is like, it says, love your neighbor as you love yourself, which means you'll have a better idea of how you can manage someone by the way that you need to be managed or how you manage yourself. So what does that mean? It means that, for instance, if it's you, like for yourself, do you like to be, do you like someone every day calling you, did you go to pre-dawn? Did you go to pre-dawn? Did you go to pre-dawn? Do you like someone always saying, hey, what did you realize from the message? What did the message mean to you, like every single day? And the answer is no, like we're not really like that. And we don't like it. But I can understand also on the flip side, leaders too, they're really worried and concerned. They want everyone to do well, that they could go overboard in that area. But it's even if you look at that, that's completely out of love also, right? It might be a little bit not very good way of managing, but in the end, it really is about love. And when you look at love for yourself, like for me, sometimes I just need to eat something. I'm not cranky because I didn't hear the word well. I'm not cranky because, I didn't wake up for pre-dawn. I'm not cranky because of that. I'm cranky because I haven't eaten. And sometimes I just need to eat. And that's something we all know, right? Sometimes we just need to eat. It's not because we didn't pray. It's not because I didn't read the word 12 times this week. It's because I'm cranky because I got a physical body. And if I'm too tired, if I haven't eaten enough, then I'm like that. And sometimes I need a physical thing, right? Mentally too, that sometimes we get mentally exhausted. We're coming from school and whatnot. And like, hey, I just finished like 14 exams. So what do you want to do? Take a break, go watch a movie or something along that line. We just need to break and to relax for a second, right? And it doesn't mean we're doing that forever. It just means that we all know ourselves really well, that there's a certain way that we don't like to be managed, right? And in the end, all we really need is just love. Like I want a friend next to me, or not like because like sometimes if you're like the pastor and stuff, your whole point is not to be friends with everyone, because that doesn't really make sense too, right? But when people have the expectation of a pastor, of course they're going to be friendly, and of course they're going to help you out with the things that you need, but they're not going to always come to you like wanting something, right? And we need to kind of assess how we are looking at these things, right? Sometimes we need to feed people physically, sometimes mentally, sometimes spiritually. Fun, same thing. Sometimes we need fun spiritually. Sometimes we need fun mentally, and sometimes we need fun physically, right? Learning too happens at all levels. And this managing thing, you have to kind of look at it, especially when you're someone who's on the very similar level as the people that you're taking care of and whatnot. Because, even when you look at friends are all on the same level, but they take care of each other. They do. They take care of each other in a certain way. And they're not doing it, friends are very, very good at listening to their problems, seeing how things are going. And then you have like pastors and like leaders that are good, like mentoring. Right? And we go to these people for different reasons, just like a teacher. I don't go to my teacher in school because I need a friend. I go to them because I need mentoring or I need some help with school, right? So this is also something that we need to make sure that we don't cross the lines too much, because sometimes it can get very hectic if you have someone trying to be your friend and mentor at the same time. Why? Because a lot of times, you don't want to listen, you don't want to hear it from your friends like, hey, you should be doing this. From our friends, we should, not as much, but we want to hear like, the comforting and the encouraging, the people to be with us. So we're all different. I would say it's very similar to like passing people. When we talk about passing, like getting people to come into this history, the goal isn't to pass people quickly, because it's not like we're like products that every product takes exactly 3 minutes and 15 seconds to make. It's not a product. Like a product has an exact time how long it takes to make this product. How long does it take to make an iPhone? It says, well, if an iPhone takes like 2.5 days, or I'm not sure what the actual number is. So that means every 2.5 days you should have this many iPhones coming out, correct? However, people are not like these objects, because people have emotions. We go through different experiences, and sometimes we're good, sometimes we're not, right? So even with passing people, when it's like, how do I pass people quickly? And the answer is, you don't. You're not supposed to pass people quickly, right? Unless like all the, imagine if imagine you go to your entire church and you ask every single person in the church, how long did it take you to pass? And every single person says 2 months, 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 right? Then we could say that, oh, okay, well then we know that God takes 2 months to pass someone. But then when you ask people now, just ask all the people in your church how long it takes to pass. There's going to be like 2 years, 15 months, 1 year, 6 months, 4 months, 3 months, 8 months. Everyone's got a different time, because everyone's different. And because everyone is different, everyone needs different times and different love, right? And that's why it's very hard to say, I want to pass them by this time. It's a very difficult thing to do. It is very difficult. You can pray about it, and that's a good, I'm not saying don't pray about it. You can pray about it, but it's a difficult thing to do, because we just don't know the set times of people. And the worst thing we can do is to pass someone too early, right? If it's too early, they're going to be shocked and like, oh my gosh, and it's going to freak them out more than anything else. So, if anything, look at yourself and how you manage yourself, or the way you like to be managed. And from there, you're really, really able to check out other, see other people and how they are also. So that would be my advice for this. Thank you so much for that question. What does it mean to manage? Great question. Thank you so much. Which brings us into the time of the song of choice for today. Now, this song is a song that I was with my cousin who was a baseball player at that time. And he was driving me to the game. And interesting thing was, we listened to this one song over and over and over and over again. It was crazy, guys. I listened to this song like 30 times in this one trip, just over and over again. But I ended up beginning to really like it because it got a catchy tune. It's a song from another movie soundtrack, from what I remember. It's from the movie Pretty Woman with Julia Roberts and Richard Gere. So I'm sure some of you, I think I played a song a while back. It Must Have Been Love. But this is a really cool song from it. It's an upbeat song. It's a song called The King of Wishful Thinking. It's from a British pop group called Go West, and I think this is the only song I really know from them. I don't know if they did anything else, but this song went top 10 in like multiple countries. Came out in 1990 during the movie Pretty Woman. This is a really fun song, good song. It's got a catchy tune. I like it. And if there's some funny covers of it. I know Jimmy Fallon and Paul Rudd from Ant-Man, they did a cover, they made the music video exactly as it is over and over, they made an exact replica of it. It's really, really funny, but this song is Go West, King of Wishful Thinking from the Pretty Woman soundtrack. And that is the king of wishful thinking from the Pretty Woman soundtrack. That is Go West, a British pop group. And well, brings me back tons of memories, especially that one road trip when I listened to it 30 times over and over again. I hope it brought you back some memories too. So that brings us into a time of the Bible story. Well, stories of the day. And today we're going to go finish off the 400 years of silence in between Malachi and... Malachi and Jesus. Okay, so this is very, very interesting because we don't really talk about this type of stuff, but when you listen to this history, it's really amazing because you're going to start to see things like, oh, that's where this person came from. Oh, that's the history of this, right? So the last time we went into the Babylonian captivity, went into the Medo-Persian period. Right, from the Medo-Persian period, then we had the Greeks taking over, starting with Alexander the Great, the 13 years of conquest of basically conquered the entire known world. After Alexander died, there was a fight for the land, and it split into two, and then after this, the Greek period was split into three different parts, and then the last part was we were going over one of the rulers named Antiochus Epiphanes. Right? It means that Antiochus was also the name of his father, and Epiphanes means God revealed. And this guy was like considered one of the greatest enemies of Israel in the history of the Israeli culture. Okay, but this also led to the Great Revolt, one of the big revolts in the Jewish revolts that led to their independence. So we have two sections left, which is the Jewish independence that also leads to the Roman Empire, which leads to Jesus. Okay. So let me give you a quick background of what is happening at the moment. I was telling you when Alexander the Great came in, he wasn't assimilating anyone, he was affirming people's cultures so they didn't have to learn Greek or anything else, but kind of naturally because the entire empire was learning Greek culture, Greek language and everything else, many of the Jews were influenced by it. And it brought in these two groups. Like later on, there was these two groups that came up. One was the Hellenists. Right? The Hellenists were the people who kind of liked the way of the world and they thought it was progress. And they supported this new way of learning Greek and the Greek culture and whatnot. And then there was the other side called the Hasidim. And the Hasidim was against it because they said it was like pagan. It was like going against God's covenant. It makes people forget about God and their covenant with God. And if you looked at kind of the majority, more of the upper class Jews were more Hellenists. Not all of them, but more of them were Hellenists, and they spent more time with other rich people, regardless of Jew or not. And they were considered those that kind of sold out their country. Now, we talked about Antiochus Epiphanes when he was ruling. We heard about this big revolt, and that last thing we talked about was this big event where he was making a priest worship Zeus, right, and giving a pagan offering in the temple. Okay, so this is what you call the Maccabean revolt, right? This is one of the really, really big things that happened. So what we heard is there was at the time of Antiochus Epiphanes, that was the Seleucid Empire that took over Palestine. Right, you guys remember that. Before that was a Ptolemaics, and that was more peaceful. But then the Seleucid Empire came in, and they were very, very, Antiochus Epiphanes was someone who was very into like making people do the Greek way. They were making everyone into Hellenism, right? So what happens now is what Antiochus Epiphanes tried to do is he's trying to force a Jewish priest to offer a pagan sacrifice to Zeus. So what happens is this Jewish priest refuses to give this sacrifice in God's temple. But another Jew said, come on, just do it. And he takes the sacrifice and he goes to sacrifice this offering to a pagan god in like the Jewish temple. The priest then goes and kills that Jew who's about to give the sacrifice and also kills that soldier, that Syrian soldier or the Seleucid Empire soldier. Okay? So then this priest's name is Mattathias. Okay, so Mattathias now runs away, but when the Hasidim find out about this, they join with Mattathias because they're like, wow, this guy was not willing to sacrifice to. He's kind of like he would have been a martyr, right? So Hasidim join with Mattathias, Now later Mattathias dies, and he has a son named Judas, and his son leads a revolution. And his son Judas, his nickname is Maccabeus, which means hammer. Okay, so that's why this is the Maccabean revolt, right? It's like the revolt of a hammer. So at this point, the revolution starts with Mattathias' son Judas. And then what they do is this revolt happens and they overthrow the Seleucids. The Seleucid Empire was overthrown by the Jews, and they take back the temple. And the crazy thing is, they took back the temple exactly 3 years to the exact day that Antiochus Epiphanes defamed it. Exactly 3 years to the day, right? So then, after they took everything back, the Jewish sacrifices and rituals are reinstated. And this is where Hanukkah comes from. So those of you guys don't know Hanukkah comes from this event, right? From the Maccabean revolt. So the Hanukkah was created to remember this day. So now we're in the time of no longer in the Medo-Persian Empire, but now it's the Jewish independence, which is the third stage, right before it goes to the Roman Empire, right? So Judas's brother, Jonathan, becomes the high priest. Okay, so this is all still Mattathias' children. So Judas is a son of Mattathias, and then Judas's brother is Jonathan, and he becomes the high priest. Remember, Mattathias was a priest himself. And then Jonathan gets executed, and then his brother Simon becomes the high priest. And then Simon gets executed. I'm not sure why they got executed though. And then the last son of Mattathias, which is John Hyrcanus. Okay, so John Hyrcanus is the last son of Mattathias, and he becomes the priest, and they call this the Hasmonean dynasty from this point on. And his son John Hyrcanus leads them, and they destroy the Sumerian temples, which angers the Samaritans. And that's why you can kind of see that there's this big, by the time you look at Jesus and the Samaritans, people look down on the Samaritans. It began at this time with John Hyrcanus that destroyed the Samaritan temple. And then the Samaritans didn't like the Jews, and that's where everything kind of stems from. So John Hyrcanus, the last son of Mattathias, expands the empire even further. Okay, so they said it was even bigger than the time of King David. And then he has a son named Alexander Janus. And interestingly, from this time on, like as crazy as this sounds, right? The whole point of this was to get away from Hellenism. But after John Hyrcanus expands the empire, it interestingly starts to become more Hellenistic. So they become more Greek, as crazy as that sounds. Because the whole point of this was to get away from it, but it became more Hellenistic. Now, because it becomes more Hellenistic, the Hasidim feel alienated and break away from the Hasmoneans at that time. Now, the Hasidim form two groups, and guess which one of the groups is called? The Pharisees. The Pharisees are formed from the Hasidim, who are against Hellenism. Right? There's also the Essenists. The Essenists and the Pharisees were created, those two groups. Now, there was a third group that was created, and that group is called the Sadducees, right? And that's why a lot of times we hear that the Pharisees and Sadducees are grouped together. But the Sadducees supported the Hasmonean priesthood, while the Pharisees supported going against Hellenism, right? So the Sadducees supported the Hasmonean priesthood and the upper class. So from this point on, this begins a big transition into the Roman period. So the Roman Empire now, it happens from 66 BC, which means it happened very, very close to the time that Jesus came, or at least when he was born, right? So John Hyrcanus was the last son of Mattathias. He had a son named Alexander Janus, who had two sons. And Alexander's two sons helped transition to the Roman Empire, okay? So at this point, the Roman Empire is beginning to grow. And Alexander Janus's two sons go to the General Pompey, right, of the Roman Empire, and he says, "Please make us the king of Israel." So General Pompey chooses one, right, and he chooses Hyrcanus II, right? So John Hyrcanus, his child, is called John Hyrcanus II. So Hyrcanus II becomes the new king of Israel, and he's given a key advisor named Antipater. Now, Antipater is someone is very interesting for later, but he is an advisor. And interesting thing is he's not a Jew. He was an Edomite, a descendant of Esau. Okay, So later on, what happens is, remember, General Pompey is the one that puts Hyrcanus II as the king of Israel. Later, Julius Caesar comes in and defeats Pompey. Okay? Good thing is, Hyrcanus II supported Caesar over Pompey. Okay? So after Caesar defeats Pompey, Caesar makes Hyrcanus II the ruler, right? The ruler of Judea. Okay? And Antipater, which was his advisor, becomes the governor of Judea. Okay, so Hyrcanus II is the ruler, Antipater is the governor. Now, Antipater has two sons, and guess what their names are, right? And well, his two sons, he appoints them as the military governors of Judea and Galilee. And one of his sons, guess what his name is Herod. This is the Herod at the time of Jesus. So Antipater dies, war breaks out, and Herod flees. He eventually gets to Rome and he appeals to Caesar and he asks him to become king. Then Caesar says, sure, you can become king. Then he goes back to Judea with soldiers and takes over, by force, he takes over all of Judea, becomes the king. And this begins the Herodian dynasty. So you kind of see that a lot of the things that we don't know, they're coming, that this history behind it shows you how it happens, right? Where Herod comes from, the Pharisees and the Sadducees. It's really, really interesting when you start to study these different things. I hope that it's something that really interests you guys more and more. It's very, very important for me. Like it just opens my eyes much more to the Bible, and that this 400 years of silence was really a preparation time for the Lord to come. All right. What does that mean, guys? It means we are at the end of today's podcast. I'm really grateful. Thanks for all of you guys joining us here. It means tomorrow is the last podcast for the week. It'll be Friday, so I'm sure that all of you guys are super happy. Everyone have an amazing and awesome day, and we will see you guys again tomorrow on the Morning Star Drive on 117.8.
It's the Morning Star Drive 117.8. You soaring up with sky, now's the time, don't delay. I'm sitting in my ride and it's time to fly. So let's realign, just listen and fill your mind.
I'm burning with desire and the passion. Nobody can stop me when I'm